It is often said that a good civilization is that which takes care of its elderlies, of its aging population. And today, from Bhagirathi Neotia Women and Child Care Center, we bring you a small snippet of how to take care of those people who took care of us when we were young, we were small, and we were unable to take care of ourselves. The geriatric population of India, of our country, is going to explode in the next 10-20 years. India is a young country today, but it won't be so forever. The average age of an Indian is in the 30s now, but slowly and certainly the average age is going to become much more than what it is today. And hence the importance of knowing how to take care of our elderlies, both for us as well as for those people who are already in our homes, who need much more care than the usual person would. How do we ensure that people who are old are taken adequate care? Unfortunately, in the humdrum of life and our hectic lives, we usually tend to gloss over and take things for granted for them, which actually leads to very dismal consequences for those people who need health care, preventive health care, as well as treatment of the current issues in a much more comprehensive way. How do we do that? There are a few neglected, often overlooked factors which can actually be taken care of very easily to ensure that the elderlies live a much more happier and productive life. How do we do that? One of the commonest problems which elderly people face is falls. At home, inside the bathroom, fallen down, broke a limb, became bedridden, and their health just falls like a house of cards. How do we prevent elderly falls? So there are various factors to why elderly people fall, from frailty to poor vision to having furniture which is not exactly conducive to their lifestyles. So how do we go about it? If we go about it from top to bottom, we have to ensure that their vision abnormalities are corrected. So proper glasses is very important. The other important thing is to ensure that in the areas where they spend most of their times, there is adequate lighting. It is also very important that when they go to the bathroom, which they often have to do at night, there is enough light so they can see where they are going, to prevent them from falling down because of poor visibility. Of course, on top of this, there is frailty. Elderlies are more often than not frail, and we have to ensure that they do not become so frail that they fall down. How do you do that? We have to ensure that there is adequate nutrition. For ensuring adequate nutrition, they have to eat well. Oral health is something which is very, very commonly overlooked in our country. And because of poor oral health and poor dentition, they are not able to chew well, and hence they become weak, nutritionally depleted, and they can become frail and fall. So maintenance of oral health, ensuring that their dentition is good enough for them to be able to chew their food properly and eat, is also very important. On top of this, what is very, very, very important is nutrition. Ensuring that they're getting enough nutrition, ensuring that they're getting enough proteins in their food. And in India, where there are a lot of restrictive diets which are very predominant in various kind of subcultures over here, we have to ensure that certain amount of nutritional supplements, which after assessment of the gentleman or the lady, is given to them in adequate and timely fashion, so that their nutrition is good enough for them to be able to carry out their daily bodily functions as well as lead a socially engaging life. On top of this, how do we prevent people from falling sick? Now we know that world over, elderlies are the people who need health care the most, and they are also the same population which have a diminished capability to take care of their health, both because of difficulty in accessing health care as well as difficulty in financing health care. Now, to prevent them from falling sick, one of the most important aspects is to give them their immunizations. Almost everybody above the age of 65 should take their pneumococcal vaccinations, and everybody should be covered by influenza vaccinations. On top of this, there are certain other vaccinations which can be given to them depending on their specific requirements. How else to prevent illnesses from them? Now, exercise is one of the best known ways to prevent illnesses. It has to be ensured that our elderlies engage in some form of physical activity to maintain their joint mobility, to ensure their muscular strength, and it has been shown that certain formats of exercises like Tai Chi are very beneficial both in maintaining their balance as well as maintaining their musculoskeletal health. Also, weight training and resistance training exercises ensures their muscular health so that they are able to carry out their functions without being dependent on anyone. On top of this, what is also very often overlooked is mental health issues in the elderlies. Depression is fairly common, and yet depression is something which is commonly neglected, especially in the elderlies. And hence it is very, very important to ensure that the elderlies are regularly talked to, get counseling regularly, and if required, get their medications for depression. At the same time, it is also very important to keep this group of the population socially engaged. It is a challenge to find out ways to make them socially relevant. Skill redevelopment, reskilling in certain populations might be of certain use. Finding out ways to ensure that people at our home are still relevant in their own minds and in our own lives is very, very important. And how do we do that? That is a case-to-case variation. We need to just find out ways so that they feel that they mean a lot to us still. And that needs participation from every member of the family. On top of this, nowadays with the pressures of modern living, elderly abuse is becoming very common. We have to find regulations. Social safety networks need to be developed so that elderly abuse is identified in its early phase and prevented, or necessary corrective action is taken for the same. Also, it's very important that elderlies get their treatments in a timely and a proper fashion. They are the group of people who require huge amount of health care support, and it is very important to find out ways to ensure that they get their treatments properly, they take their medications in a timely fashion, and prevention of complications of diseases like diabetes, hypertension, ischemic heart disease, they should be ensured. Also, it's very important to regularly screen them for diseases which are commonly found in the elderly populations. One of the very good ways to find out what is an age appropriate and requirement appropriate screening is to refer to the United States Preventive Services Task Force recommendations. It is easily available online, anybody can go, there is an app, you can download it, type in the personal details, and they will give you a list of recommendations for screening purposes to prevent diseases. So these are the screening protocols which we can use to ensure that people who mean a world to us are taken care of in the fag end of their lives, and we can justify the care, the love which we received when we were in our young age. With this I'll end, and I hope the message which we have given to you, you can implement it in your lives to ensure that your father, your mother, your grandmothers, grandparents, they are all taken care of well in a timely and a proper fashion. Thank you.